Is that why that chicken tasted so funny?
We formed a human chain and kept the trucks out. Oh, remember?
Death is too easy for you. I want you to suffer.
That I was going to cry. That I survived.
Strong and foxy, Pam Grier, widely known as the Queen of Blaxploitation, was a powerhouse in the film industry, starring in over a dozen movies between 1971 and 1975. She did all her own stunts and handled weapons, cars, planes, and enemies like a pro. But there's so much more to her story than just her on-screen badassery. From a shocking cameo on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air that stirred up some controversy to her personal struggles in both her career and life, Pam's journey is a wild roller coaster ride. Let's dive in. When you think of cinematic it girls who redefined cinema, fashion, and culture, Pam Grier has to be on that list. Her impact on the film industry is undeniable, but like any superstar, drama seems to follow her. Take, for example, her guest appearance on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Many people might not know this, but she popped up in the 4th season, episode 22, titled M is for the Many Things She Gave Me. In the episode, Pam played Janice Robertson, Philip's old college girlfriend, who pays a visit to the Banks family. She tries to an unwilling Will, who is supposed to be getting to know her daughter Wendy, played by Elise Neal. Janice eventually gets Will to sleep with her.
Oh, is that why that chicken tasted so funny?
We formed a human chain and kept the trucks out. Oh, remember?
Vivian is openly jealous of Janice's presence, especially after overhearing Phil say he settled for Vivian after Janice showed no interest.
Janice wasn't going to have me, so I settled for Vivian.
When Philip finds out that Will slept with Janice, he apologizes to Vivian and makes it clear that he values his marriage more than anything Janice tempts him with.
You slept with Janice!
While some viewers found this episode intriguing, it didn't sit well with everyone. Critics felt the storyline was with Pam's character, a grown woman a teenage boy. There were also whispers that Pam was overplaying her S-symbol status. These rumors fueled speculation that this might be why she wasn't invited back for more cameos on the show. However, nothing was ever confirmed. But this controversy is just one part of Pam's tumultuous life. She was celebrated for her beauty and S-appeal, and everyone from actors to comedians to athletes was chasing after her. Despite being seen as one of the most beautiful actresses in Hollywood, Pam's love life was anything but smooth. Her early life was marked by trauma. At the tender age of 6, Pam endured a horrific experience at the hands of her cousin and his friends. According to the New York Post, this incident turned her into an introvert. She developed a stutter and became afraid to be around people. She kept the incident a secret, fearing it would tear her family apart. In her words, she decided to stay quiet and see how long I can go and how much stronger I can be with this energy inside me. Her grandparents' farm in Wyoming became her sanctuary. It was there that she learned to ride horses, a skill that would come in handy later in life. Slowly, her stutter disappeared. Pam enrolled at Denver's Metropolitan State College with dreams of becoming a doctor. However, at 18, she went on a date that took a dark turn when the guy brutally assaulted her. This incident pushed her further into her shell. In her memoir,
That I survived 4 attacks two as a little girl, one as a teenager, and one as a younger woman. These are attacks as a child.
Pam wrote about how she began dressing down and trying to make herself look less attractive to avoid being targeted again. She kept this painful memory to herself for a long time, trying to process it on her own. When she finally felt confident enough to open up to her then-boyfriend, his response was cruel. "Wow, you're tainted." That relationship didn't last long. Pam's love life continued to be a roller coaster. She met Wilt Chamberlain, the legendary basketball player who claimed to have slept with over 20,000 women. In an interview with The Undefeated, Pam shared that things never progressed with Wilt because she was too country, and Wilt was more attracted to sophisticated, educated women. Pam Grier's journey took another interesting turn when she told the Washington Post about competing in a beauty pageant just to earn money for medical school. Little did she know, a casting agent was in the audience that night and suggested she try acting. Pam laughed it off initially, but after hearing that opportunities for black actresses were on the rise, she decided to take the plunge and move to Los Angeles. Settling into her new city, she soon caught the eye of another basketball player. This time it was Ferdinand Lewis Alcindor Jr., a towering 7'2" UCLA graduate and NBA star. They bonded over their shared love for martial arts and eventually fell in love. Pam thought she had finally found someone who understood and respected her.
Early on was Ferdinand Lewis Alcindor Jr., who became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was my first boyfriend when I transferred from Colorado to try to get into UCLA Film School.
Ferdinand converted to Islam and changed his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He expressed his desire to marry her, assuring her she wouldn't need to convert. But slowly, things changed. Kareem told her, "I can only marry a woman of the same religion." Pam, uncomfortable with Islam's views on women, asked why women had to walk behind men. Kareem's response was, "Because that's what Allah wants." On her birthday, Kareem gave her an ultimatum. "If you don't commit to me today, I'm getting married at 2 this afternoon. She's a converted Muslim and has been prepared for me." Pam made her decision easily. She turned him down and wished him well. Kareem married a woman named Janice Brown, who took the name Habiba Abdul-Jabbar. They had 3 children but divorced after 7 years. Pam threw herself into her acting career despite Hollywood's narrow beauty standards. She told the New York Times she had chipped teeth and a scar on her knee from a bullet wound at 17. Standing at 5 feet 8 inches and weighing 145 pounds at the start of her career, the Washington Post described her as chunky. Her height also made it tough to land leading roles because she was taller than many male actors. Yet, she persevered and snagged the lead in the 1971 film The Big Dollhouse. While the movie succeeded, her love life remained rocky. Pam had brief flings with Soul Train host Don Cornelius and Led Zeppelin's Robert Plant. But the next time she truly fell for someone was in 1973 while promoting her film Coffee. She met Freddie Prinze, a hot new comedian, and they hit it off instantly. She even considered marrying him, but his growing habit was a major obstacle. Pam said, was becoming a daily thing for Freddie and his friends, but I couldn't accept it. Freddie would often show up without eventually confessing, "I'm trying to get you pregnant. I love you, and I'm afraid you may not marry me."
He helped me. He was a partner.
Was he
didn't want to
Chico
press
and the
me.
Man?
He was on Chico and the Man, but he always tried to get me pregnant, and I'm like, no.
Okay.
Despite the issues, Freddie was incredibly supportive. Pam told Madame Noir that it was Freddie who encouraged her to pursue Broadway, wanting her to be a star and never feeling intimidated by her success. But his problems became too overwhelming, leading Pam to break things off, though they remained friends. Freddie moved on with Kathy Cochran, and they had a son, Freddie Prinze Jr. It was Freddie who introduced Pam to the legendary comedian Richard Pryor. The 3 of them hung out at Richard's house, but things took a turn when the partying and use began. Pam, realizing where the night was heading, asked Freddie to take her home. As Freddie's addiction deepened, Pam started to distance herself from him, focusing instead on her burgeoning acting career, landing iconic roles in films like Foxy Brown and steadily building her resume. One night, she received a heartbreaking call from Freddie, who was staying at a hotel. His voice was filled with despair as he confessed to Pam that he had lost everything. His entourage had drained him financially, and he felt utterly alone. All he had left was a weapon. Pam, understandably terrified, was hesitant to visit him, fearing he might harm both of them. She told Madame Noir, "I take care of my family. I'm paying a lot of mortgages, putting people through college. I've been given a purpose, and I can't have him take my life." Just a few days later, on January 29, 1977, Pam received the devastating news that Freddie had taken his own life at just 22 years old. Pam's path crossed with Richard Pryor's again when they began filming Greased Lightning. Their friendship quickly evolved into a romantic relationship. Unfortunately, Pam found herself once more entangled with someone struggling with substance abuse. Determined not to give up, she helped Richard confront his fears, set him up with a healthy lifestyle, taught him to read, and even got him to kick his habit for a while. But after 6 months of sobriety, Richard relapsed.
He had been indulging in since he was 13. And so basically for 40-some years, his body was contaminated.
During a routine doctor's visit, Pam received shocking news. Her physician found a buildup of residue inside her body, a dangerous epidemic in Hollywood at the time. It was presumed that Richard was using the on his privates to enhance his stamina.
Sorry, if he's not putting it on his body, then it's in his gland. It's collecting, it's accumulating. It was compromising my health. So when I asked him, can we protect my health,
This revelation was a breaking point, and they split up in 1977. Richard, in his memoir, wrote about being turned off by Pam's belief that she was the bigger celebrity, stating, "In my head, there was only one numero uno, and it wasn't her." Not long after their breakup, Richard married Deborah McGuire, a tumultuous event he later described to Vanity Fair. He admitted he was drunk during the wedding. Deborah arrived an hour late and had to be revived after overdosing on Quaaludes. Pam, uninvited, showed up to the chaotic scene. As years went by, Pam took on smaller roles in TV series like Roots and The Love Boat. One day, she got a call from Sidney Poitier, who informed her that Richard was high and causing delays on the set of Stir Crazy. Poitier asked Pam to come and talk some sense into him. Pam visited Richard and found him freebasing. She managed to convince him to return to the set, but shortly after, she received another distressing call. Richard had poured 151 proof rum on himself and set himself on fire. He was rushed to the hospital with severe burns covering over 50% of his body.
I saw Richard just only a few hours before he burnt up. He was completely out of his mind.
Reflecting on her past relationships, Pam realized she needed to change her focus. "I couldn't change Richard. I couldn't change Freddie or Kareem, and I realized it's not about changing other people. It's about changing myself," she told The Guardian. Embracing a healthier lifestyle, she began running 6 miles a day, cut out meat, and steered clear of any substance abuse. Pam's resolve was put to the ultimate test in 1988 when she went in for a routine PAP smear and was diagnosed with stage 4 cervical cancer. Given only 18 months to live, Pam found herself fighting for her life alone.
films, and then I get cancer in 1988. Out of nowhere. No symptoms, but I have 18 months to live.
Her boyfriend at the time didn't show up to her first chemotherapy session, nor the second, and eventually disappeared altogether. Pam shared with the New York Times how she defied the odds, beating cancer and receiving a clean bill of health by 1990. In the mid-90s, Pam moved to Denver to be closer to her family. She started dating RCA Records executive Kevin Evans in 1996, but their relationship ended a few years later. Speaking to the LA Times, Pam described herself as a loner, priding herself on being self-reliant. Aside from an alleged 8-year relationship with marketing exec Peter Hempel, which ended in 2008, Pam has kept her dating life relatively private. But looking on the bright side, Pam Grier has undoubtedly enjoyed more success in her career than in her love life. Born on May 26, 1949, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Pam is the daughter of Gwendolyn Sylvia, née Samuels, a homemaker and nurse, and Clarence Ransom Grier Jr., a mechanic and technical sergeant in the United States Air Force. She has one sister and one brother. Pam's heritage is a rich tapestry of Black, Hispanic, Chinese, Italian, Filipino, and Cheyenne ancestry. Raised Catholic and later baptized as a Methodist, Pam's early life was marked by frequent relocations due to her father's military career. In 1956, the Grier family moved to Swindon in southwest England, where her father worked on an Air Force base. Pam recalls that her family was one of the only black families in town, but they didn't experience the racism and segregation prevalent in the United States. According to Pam, the locals in Swindon didn't harbor racial against blacks, having been raised to hold animosity towards Germans instead. This was a stark contrast to the racial segregation they faced in the U.S. Pam shared that in the South, buses wouldn't stop for them. They couldn't dine in certain restaurants and were restricted from using specific bathrooms. Even as late as 1969, there were department stores where Pam and her father were not allowed to try on clothing. The Grier family returned to the United States in 1958, when her father was transferred to California's Travis Air Force Base. They eventually settled in Denver, Colorado, near Lowry Air Force Base. Pam spent part of her childhood on her maternal grandparents' sugar beet farm in rural Wyoming. Her grandparents had homesteaded there after fleeing west via the Underground Railroad to escape slavery. This connection to her family's history instilled a deep sense of resilience and determination in Pam. Pam attended East High School in Denver, where she was active in stage productions and beauty contests. In 1967, Pam Grier made the bold move to Los Angeles, California, with dreams of making it big. She started out working the switchboard at American International Pictures, AIP, a gig that seemed pretty low-key at first. But fate had other plans. It wasn't long before she caught the eye of director Jack Hill, who saw something special in her. This discovery led Pam to star in Roger Corman's women in prison films like The Big Dollhouse, 1971, Women in Cages, 1971, and The Big Birdcage, 1972. These roles were just the beginning of her iconic career. While working under contract at AIP, Pam quickly became a central figure in the early 1970s blaxploitation genre. She played strong, assertive women, starting with Hill's Coffee, 1973, where she took on the role of a nurse seeking revenge on dealers. The movie's trailer hyped her character as the baddest one-chick hit squad that ever hit town. The film was a box office success, filled with the era's typical blend of and violent elements. This role made Pam the first African-American woman to headline an action film, a groundbreaking achievement since blaxploitation films usually featured male protagonists. Critic Roger Ebert praised Coffee, highlighting Pam's believable and compelling performance, noting her beautiful face and astonishing form, and the physical life she brought to the screen that many other actresses lacked. Pam continued to play similar roles in AIP films like Foxy Brown, 1974, Sheba, Baby, 1975, and Friday Foster, 1975. However, as the blaxploitation trend began to wane later in the 1970s, Pam found herself taking on smaller roles for several years. During the 1980s, she began to land progressively larger character roles, portraying a addicted in Fort Apache, The Bronx, 1981, and a witch in Something Wicked This Way Comes, 1983. In 1985, Pam made her theatrical debut in Sam Shepard's Fool for Love at the Los Angeles Theater Center, showcasing her versatility as an actress. Pam made a notable return to film as Steven Seagal's detective partner in Above the Law, 1988. She also had a recurring role on Miami Vice from 1985 to 1989 and made guest appearances on popular TV shows like Martin, Night Court, and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Additionally, she had a recurring role in the TV series Crime Story from 1986 to 1988. Pam's role in Rocket Gibraltar, 1988, was unfortunately cut due to fears of repercussions from interracial love scenes by the film's director Daniel Petrie. Nevertheless, Pam continued to appear on shows like Sinbad, Preston Chronicles, The Cosby Show, The Wayans Brothers Show, and Mad TV. In 1994, she even appeared in Snoop Dogg's music video for Doggy Dog World. In the late 1990s, Pam was a cast member of the Showtime series Lynx. She also appeared in John Carpenter's Escape from L.A., 1996, and played the title role in Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown, 1997. These roles paid homage to her 1970s blaxploitation films and earned her numerous award nominations. Pam then took on the role of Kit Porter in Showtime's The L Word, which ran for 6 successful seasons, concluding in March 2009. She continued to guest star in television series, including Law & Order Special Victims Unit, where she became a recurring character. In 2010, Pam began appearing in a recurring role on the hit science fiction series Smallville as the villain Amanda Waller, also known as White Queen, head agent of Checkmate, a covert operations agency. The following year, she appeared as a friend and colleague to Julia Roberts' college professor in Larry Crown, 2011. Pam took a step back to reflect on her life and career in 2010 when she co-wrote her memoir, Foxy, My Life in 3 Acts, with Andrea Kagan. Her life story continued to inspire and educate, leading to her receiving an honorary doctorate of humane letters from the University of Maryland Eastern Shore in 2011 and an honorary doctorate of science from Langston University that same year. In 2012, Essence magazine highlighted the revolutionary impact of Pam's characters, noting that women reportedly would stand on chairs and cheer during her films. Pam's influence extended beyond entertainment as she founded the Pam Grier Community Garden and Education Center with the National Multicultural Western Heritage Museum. The center aims to teach people about organic gardening, health, and nutrition. The museum honored her by naming its first garden after her in 2011. In January 2018, Pam announced that a biopic based on her memoir was in the works, titled Pam. Her legacy continues to captivate audiences, and in April 2022, Turner Classic Movies, TCM, announced that the 4th season of their podcast, The Plot Thickens, would focus on Pam's life and career, ensuring that her remarkable journey continues to inspire and entertain for generations to come. Pam Grier's cultural impact has been nothing short of legendary, shaping and influencing countless aspects of the entertainment world throughout her career. In recognition of her immense contributions, she was honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award at the 2024 Toronto Black Film Festival. This accolade was a testament to her enduring legacy and the profound mark she has left on cinema. In a touching tribute to Pam's iconic status, Quentin Tarantino celebrated Valentine's Day 2024 by opening a coffee shop in Los Feliz named after the character Coffee, whom Pam famously portrayed in the 1973 film. This homage was not just a nod to Pam's role in shaping American culture, but also a celebration of her lasting influence on the film industry. Pam Grier is undeniably a true icon of American cinema. She shattered barriers and defied stereotypes, carving out a place for herself in an industry that wasn't always welcoming to actors of color.